and you said you would do it. And now we have 20,000 gun control laws in America, all made by people who said that. And the Founding Fathers really got busy and said, on the Second Amendment, we want to make sure there's no mistake. So we're going to use this terminology that this particular right shall not be infringed, and it's the most infringed of all of them. Are we a little bit backwards? Just a little bit. All right, let's get into this evidence. I'm going to show you this evidence. We're going to be going into this big time. But I want you to see this. Protect the God-given rights that we were blessed with as Americans. And we're off track. All branches of government are off track. How do we get it back? County by county. County by county. Now here's the requirement that we all take the oath. Did you know that the Founding Fathers put it in the Constitution that every public official, it doesn't matter who you are, they include everybody, senators, representatives, already forementioned, and the members of the several state legislatures, that includes California, and all executive and judicial officers. Okay, the sheriff and law enforcement work for what branch of government? Executive. We are the executors of the law. We're not judges and we're not legislators. So why do we all say that we work for them? We have to work with them sometimes. Would it be appropriate for a sheriff to, a chief of police, a cop, whoever, tell the legislatures, no, I'm not doing that one? Tell a judge, no, I'm not doing that one? Of course! Yeah. They're three separate branches. The powers are divided. We work for the executive branch. We're not a puppet for the legislatures or the judges. Okay? We work for the executive branch. All officers of the legislative, executive, and judicial branch, both of the United States and of the several states, shall be bound by oath or affirmation to support this Constitution. Why did the Founding Fathers put it in there? Because they wanted all branches of government to be doing the same thing. Uphold, defend, protect, preserve the God-given rights that they wanted to protect when they devised the Constitution. Why did the Founding Fathers devise the Constitution? To make sure that all the abuses going on from King George III would not happen again. And then, what happened? Did they have a Bill of Rights? No. Happened 2 years later. Because some of the radical ones, Patrick Henry, Samuel Adams, said the Constitution didn't go far enough. Some of the other Founding Fathers went, oh my gosh, it was such a miracle to get this Constitution. You guys want us to go back? And they said, yeah. We must have a Declaration of Rights, they said. Something that all future generations, future polymagicians from everywhere, even in California, will not be able to make a mistake what we mean. So, if we were to do this now, if we were the people right now to come up with a Declaration of Rights today, how many would we come up with? That government could never touch, could never change. The natural rights that God blessed us with would have to be completely untouchable by anybody in government anywhere. How many would we come up with? The Founding Fathers did the same thing you're thinking right now. They came up with 189. That was the original Bill of Rights. 189. Well, of course, they dwindled them down and they had some duplication and, they were overlapping each other. And they came up with 12. And then the real power in America, the 13 original states ratified 10. And they became known as the Untouchables. The Untouchables by government. These are the 10 basic fundamental principles of liberty that government can never alter, change, or even think about legislating. For or against. They're done. They're immutable. They're unchangeable. They're eternal. They're untouchable by government. Well, government just quite hasn't got that, have they? And that's where we come in. And we strengthen and we buoy up these rights, and we start with the Bill of Rights, because those are the ones that are plainest. And we have sheriffs now across the country. If you look at our website at cspoa.org, in fact, I want all of you to go to that website. I have cards, but I probably don't have 500 or 400, whatever's here. Make sure you write this down and remember it, okay? CSPOA, CSPOA, okay? Whatever that's. CSPOA, I admit it has too many letters. CSPOA.org, you can look at a long list of sheriffs that have already signed on to protecting and defending the Second Amendment. And in fact, the Utah Sheriff's Association, 28 out of 29 sheriffs wrote a letter to Vice President Biden with a CC to the President. To the guy that was in the White House. And they said this: we will not tolerate the federal government coming into our counties and making criminals out of law-abiding citizens. Your gun control will be stopped. Because they can, and they have the authority, and they took an oath of office to uphold and defend the Constitution. And we're starting to do this, and this is starting to get traction. And we have so many amazing sheriffs that are doing things like this. Sheriff Palmer in Oregon standing up to the Forest Service and saying, no, you're not going to do this. You're not going to arrest my people here anymore. You're not going to close that road anymore. And while you're at it, could you please tell me where you got your authority? And he said it's been 10 years and he still hasn't been able to get an answer from them where their authority originates from. Because they don't have it. And we have people that can prove this to you. And we've had them at our conferences, and you can see them on our DVD set. Representative Ken Ivory from Utah does a wonderful lesson to teach you and teach everybody, and he's on our first DVD set showing you that the federal government does not have control over the land and have no authority over our land. And you can read the Constitution in Article 1, Section 8, where it tells you what property the federal government is allowed to own. And it's not Yosemite. And it's not the Grand Canyon. So we're required by the Supreme Law of the land to swear an oath of allegiance to the Constitution. The question is there any evidence that we actually keep that oath? And that's really where all of this boils down to. Madison said something else in his Virginia resolution. And this is really powerful stuff. Now, again, I'm showing you the evidence, okay? I didn't make up state nullification or the principle of nullification. But Madison wrote about it a long time ago. And he said this, look at this. Start right above interpose. I love that word. It's a word all of you need to know and understand. Interpose, the doctrine of interposition. What does interposition mean? Come here, Ron. Come here, Ron. Okay. You too. This is the damsel in distress. And this is the bad guy. Get over here. Of course, I'm the sheriff in the white hat. You're not going to do it to her, okay? Leave her alone, you bad guys. Sit down, get out of here. This is interpose. I put myself in the way for the innocent citizen, possible victim. And we're going to see that word again. Interpose simply means you put yourself in the way. It's a parenting technique, actually. And if you read the New Testament, you'll also see that there was somebody there who interposed for all of us. But that's another story for another time.
We can use that to do Article 42 actions against the politicians. Absolutely, I like it.
So, what does Madison, the father of our Constitution, say about interposition? He said the state's legislature, look right above interpose, the state's legislature is duty bound. It's their duty to interpose its power to prevent the federal government from victimizing its people. Oh, that never happens. We've even been told that would never happen. Oh my goodness, it's been happening for decades. Now, how is it that we're going to protect you from the crimes of the National Security Agency? They're committing crimes all over the place. Who's going to stop them? Washington, D.C.? Well, no, doesn't look like it. How about the crimes committed by the IRS? How long has the IRS been committing crimes all across America is the question. In 1997, IRS employees, including Jennifer Long from Florida and others, one testified with his face and everything silhouetted and his voice muffled because he was so afraid of retaliation from the mafia, the IRS. He was so afraid of retaliation from an agency of the federal government, the United States government. He's afraid that they will retaliate, maybe even kill him for telling the truth. And you know what they testified to? Jennifer Long, she just came bold right out and said it. This is 1997. You can look it up. It's in newspapers. In fact, one of the newspapers quoted one of the IRS agents and said, if the American people knew what the IRS was doing, there'd be a revolution tomorrow. That was in the newspapers all over the place. So they had all these hearings, and they talked about all these crimes. And Jennifer Long and the other guy behind the partition swore before Congress that the IRS routinely fabricated evidence against citizens who they knew were incapable of financially defending themselves. And they didn't owe anything, but they couldn't fight it. I'm asking you now, who's going to stop that sort of crime? Washington, D.C.? They're not going to. They haven't been doing it. It's obvious they are not going to stop it. Why would any chief of police, sheriff here in California, anywhere, I don't care what county, allow the IRS to come in unfettered in your county? Or allow them at all? We just know, it's been all over the press that they're committing all sorts of crimes, and we're just supposed to allow them in? In 1997, do you know how many IRS employees were investigated for that crime? Not one. Did they fire the guy? Oh no. What do they do in Washington when all these crimes happen?
Give them a
They
raise.
transfer them over to another department and they move somebody else in, and it's a bunch of cronyism, and just change the name on the door thing, and it all keeps going. Okay. I'm asking, who is going to protect you from that kind of criminality? How about the local officials who've sworn an oath in God's name saying that they would? That's a simple process to me. Okay. And then every public official, especially peace officers and sheriffs and chiefs of police, are put into this same quandary. This is Judge John Rowe. This is the most amazing judge that we lost 2.5 years ago. Over 2.5. January 8th, 2011. Look what he said. Mack is thus forced to choose between keeping his oath or obeying the law, subjecting himself to possible sanctions. He was incensed that the federal government had the audacity to threaten to arrest us. He really got ticked about that. Really ticked. And this is one of the parts he said to address it. Now, when your local officials, when every cop in this country is forced into this same quandary, which one should they keep? Enforce the law or keep their oath? Of course, keep your oath. Nothing supersedes the Constitution and nothing supersedes your word. And no laws in your state or county or whatever can diminish the power and supremacy of the Constitution. So the state of California makes a law saying he can't have a gun. You can't have an assault rifle. What do you need an assault rifle for? Well, the first quick answer to that is, it's none of your business. And yes, you tell that to the VATF and any other government official. We choose what kind of gun to own. We choose what kind of magazine to have. We choose how much ammunition to have and own. Ooh, you have an arsenal in your house. Well, if I do, that's none of your business either. And if I'm a law-abiding citizen, guess what you have to do? You have to protect my arsenal. You have to protect her assault rifle. Don't you see how powerful powerful the question is that Judge Roll presented to us. Every peace officer should ask himself that question. What do I do if I'm forced into that quandary? Don't forget one thing. The oath requires that you know and understand the Constitution. And I'm going to tell you a little secret. It's impossible to keep an oath to something that you've never read. Now, here it is. This is the threat of arrest. This was in the Brady Bill. I didn't make this up. Here it is. Under a separate provision of the Gun Control Act, that's the Gun Control Act, Federal Gun Control Act of 1968, any person who knowingly violates the section of the Gun Control Act amended by the Brady Bill shall be fined under this title, imprisoned for no more than 1 year or both. First time in U.S. history that a law promulgated by Congress carries with it a threat of arrest. No money, no grants this time, a threat of arrest if we fail to comply. And how many sheriffs did this lawsuit? 7. 7. That's a little bit scary, isn't it? And, oh, and did I tell you? We won. Our country has reached the point where citizens will rise up to take back our country. Isn't that what we've been talking about all night? Of course we have. It is not a call to arms. It's not. Let's give this a chance to work. We still have a chance to take this back peacefully. Don't you owe that to your children and your grandchildren? Let's try this. But stand firm in all of this and rise up and take back our country? Absolutely. Yes. And I hope that I'm there holding hands with each of you. And I don't care what color you are. I don't care what your race is. I don't care who your daddy is. I don't care what religion you are. If you're willing to stand for liberty, you're my brother and you're my sister, and we'll stand hand in hand as we stand for American liberty. Some local left-wing bloggers are smearing you as a brother? Oh, birther. Please set the record straight. Okay? A birther. Well, I didn't really care about that issue at all, and I even said that for a number of years. I don't care. It's a non-issue. It's not going to get us anywhere. And then a Tea Party group in Arizona contacted me, and they said, we want you to investigate the birth certificate as released by the White House and Barack Obama. I said, I'm not going to do that, and you don't have enough money to pay me to do that. And they said, well, what about Joe Arpaio? You're good friends with him. Can you ask him to do it? I said, I'm not going to ask Arpaio to do that, and he's not going to do that. So they went and met with him, and Arpaio said, I'll investigate it. And Arpaio even told me he would investigate it just to get the thing settled and get those Tea Party groups off his back. They were his constituents. He wasn't going to just tell them to get lost, get lost. So he went in to do it, investigate it, to prove that the birth certificate was fine and Barack Obama was born in Hawaii. No evidence existed to support that. And the more they looked into it, the more they saw that the birth certificate was a fraud. We had the investigator, Mike Zullo, speak at our convention that we held May 31st and June 1st of this year, and it's on that DVD set over there, and you can get the DVD set off our website too. Mike Zullo is a fantastic investigator. He's an honest man. I know him, and I totally trust Sheriff Arpaio and his motivation for any of this. He wanted the truth to come out. He doesn't care if it's the president. He doesn't care if it's the dog catcher down the street. He doesn't care if it's illegal aliens. He believes in the rule of law. And if the president issued a fraudulent document, then he needs to be held accountable for it. And he's not saying where he was born, so it has nothing to do with the birther issue. But the birth certificate that was released by Mr. Obama and the White House is fraudulent, a lie, and a forgery. That's all it is. schools are brainwashing our kids. Oh, really? So, when did that happen? I will tell you that the best place to educate your kids is in your own home. Okay? Totally support homeschooling, and that should be defended by every public official here. Parents have the responsibility to teach and train and educate their own children. If you want to send them to a public school, that's your problem. That's up to you. Do you want to do it? Hey, you got it. Problem. So, how can we arm them to combat the destruction of American principles? Actually, after I left the sheriff's office, I taught high school government. And I was appalled at what the school curriculum book said about the Second Amendment. It didn't say anything truthful about the Second Amendment at all. And we have to teach around what they're doing. The school's curriculum is established in Washington, D.C., and the control over that is the NEA, National Education Association. They are very liberal, they're very un-American, and that's what is resulting. Then what is happening through that brainwashing? We are literally raising a generation of liberals, and brainwashed liberals in our school system, and we teach socialism, globalism, and humanism instead of Americanism. It's not taught. So of course, and now we're even teaching that the Founding Fathers were a bunch of fanatics, and that they were kind of terrorists, and that the Tea Party was done by a bunch of criminals and terrorists. You know, the original Tea Party. And so, when we have that kind of training in our schools, no wonder, you know, when you start talking to college kids about, ask how many college students know the purpose and the proper role of government, and what the purpose of government is, and where do we read that? In the document that's forbidden because it talks about the Creator and Creator-endowed rights, known as the Declaration of Independence. When it talks about that we hold these truths to be self-evident, all men are created equal, and that we are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights. Not unalienable, they're unalienable. You can't lien them. And among these are life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. It's the next line that everybody has to know. What's the purpose of government? That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men. That's the purpose of all government. That's the reason we have a congressman, that's the reason we have a sheriff, that's the reason we have a dog catcher, city councilman, county commissioners, to secure these rights. The God-given, creator-endowed rights of life, liberty, and property. Okay? And yeah, we don't get it. How do we take back the right to open carry in our state? Move to Nevada, Arizona, or Utah? I will tell you something right now. There are 4 states that have complete and total constitutional carry. Aren't we all supposed to? I thought we were supposed to uphold and defend the Constitution. Just within the last 3 years, Arizona became the 3rd, and then Wyoming came 4th. Do you know who the first 2 were? Alaska, okay, I get that. Vermont! Vermont! And you can't do it in California? We have no permits in Arizona, folks. I can carry my gun anywhere I want, and so does my wife. We go to a movie, my wife sticks a gun in her purse, and we go. And you know who we have to ask permission from? Nobody! Okay? That's what you need to start doing, and hopefully you can start doing that county by county too, because I'm telling you right now, you want a safer county? Respect and defend and obey the Second Amendment. Okay, is this the last one? Sheriff Mack, the Magnificent, I hold here in my lap. I guess that's Johnny Carson. Okay, time for another one. What recourse do the people have to a president who refuses to enforce federal law? The first one that comes to mind is securing the border. No president has done it the last 20 years, 30 years. And I'm telling you, if the federal government wants to play with the drug war, that they have completely failed at, obviously, and the drug war has been a huge failure for all of us in more ways than one. if they do have jurisdiction at the border. It's an Article 4 section for the U.S. Constitution. They are to protect our borders from invasion. If they can't even do that, are you telling me that the states can't take that back? We delegated that to them and we can't take it back and do it ourselves? Of course we can. We're a sovereign state. You want to protect the border? Go protect the border. The governor, would be nice if he would be leading the way on that. But right now, these amnesty programs and all of this other stuff and all the money and economic burden that it's caused our country. And you're a racist now if you don't believe in securing the border? Good grief. Man, they win on every side, don't they? So, yes, we need to secure the border. We need to enforce the laws. And you would expect, Barack Obama, is he going to follow the law and follow the Constitution? Well, he's just a constitutional, professor, scholar? What a joke. I mean, this whole thing is such a joke, my dear friends. And that's why I say again and again, and I'll say this to you all one more time. We have to enforce the law just like Sheriff Arpaio is doing in Phoenix. He's arresting the illegal aliens. He's enforcing that law. He was working with the federal government on that. That I learned this at police training, and I close every one of my talks with it. And this goes like this. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. And that's the eagle. Long may she be free.